Welcome back.
Thank you.
We're back, everybody.
We're back.
I have one mental health crisis later. We're back to making content. I wanted to. Well, let's talk about where we've been. Did you have a good vacation?
I had a pretty good vacation. Yeah,
we went
did.
to visit our family. If you don't know, I'm not from the United States of America. So we went to Grand Cayman.
The Cayman Islands. Yep.
For a week. It was a lot of fun.
Until dun dun dun.
Until we both got COVID. But that's a whole nother thing. No, it was fine.
Yeah, it was.
When you see, so the problem is vacation for us is, especially when we go to Cayman, is, well, it's time to see everybody that we haven't seen.
Yeah, it's a little bit of vacation. It's a lot of vacation, but it's also a little bit of, catching up with family and friends who we haven't seen in about 3 years.
I like my family, so that's okay. I'm good to see everybody. That's all cool.
It's very fun.
Except that does expose you to COVID. And that is what happened.
Yeah, and you had gone the whole pandemic never having gotten COVID.
I'm so sad my streak ended.
Just when you thought you were better than everybody else.
I was like, I'm the last man on earth that hasn't gotten COVID.
And you might have been right.
And then I got smacked in the face with it. It was very mild. I think I had a fever for like a day.
Briefly.
I felt kind of crappy maybe for like 2 days. But all my symptoms were like head cold stuff. It was not bad at all. So we're good.
Yeah. And we were staying on the beach and there was nobody there. So we still got to go to the beach every day and swim in the ocean.
Man, I think saltwater is magic.
I think so too.
So we were out there and that really helped.
Sunshine, vitamin D.
I think so.
Yeah.
Like, I'm over it now. I haven't been. The other thing, unfortunately, we came back and we were still kind of sick. So I haven't been back to the gym yet.
Yeah.
And that's just really...
I know.
I'm just doing nothing. It's
bumming you out.
I've been sitting what's so funny is Sarah will send me Instagram reels. And a lot of times it's a lot of stuff that I haven't seen before. So we get a chuckle out of it.
Yeah, we send reels back and forth. And sometimes it's old stuff for each of us.
She has sent me 20. No, maybe like 10 reels.
Yeah.
And I've seen every single one of them because I have been sitting on my butt doing nothing.
I know. I finally yesterday got one that you hadn't seen
yet. I mean, I don't do well towards the end of things or towards the beginning of things. We know this about me. I need to be in the mix. So it also doesn't help that you come back and you're sick and all you want to do it, because I was pretty fatigued. So from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, I was just like, dude, I'm going to lay around.
I know.
But now it's like, okay, I feel fine, but I'm still not back in the gym because I'm starting back on Monday. So it's like, trying to find the hours.
Yeah. And like Tuesday, Wednesday, you even tried to get some of your steps in and it was too much and you were like totally exhausted. I haven't even tried.
I got all my steps on Tuesday because I was like, I'm fine. I'm healed.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday, I just couldn't wake up in the morning. I was like, what the heck happened? You were like, you moved around too much.
It's like, you did too much. You're still sick.
I'm not used to that.
I know. You really
don't get sick.
You don't get sick very much.
Like, I was trying to think when was the last time that I actually got sick. I get stomach issues a bunch, but that's not like sickness. Like I'll be out for like a day from food poisoning or like, just I eat something bad, but it's not like fatigue for 2 weeks.
Right.
I think the worst sickness I've got outside of like stomach stuff was I had mono in college. Mm-hmm. But even that was like
not that big.
Not that bad.
Yeah.
Everybody had freaking mono. We were just passing it around.
I never got it.
You never got it, which is crazy.
I know.
But everybody in my dorm got it, basically. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel that bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
but we're over it now. We feel good. Our family feels good.
I can breathe again. Mm-hmm. I will say though, it's weird. Like, I didn't lose my sense of taste or smell, but stuff tastes just a little bit off to me. Mm-hmm. And I was smelling like what I described as like ozone. She doesn't know what I'm talking about. Mm-mm. But like, if anybody knows the smell of like when you blow a light bulb, like an old tungsten light bulb, there's like this whiff of ozone. I don't know if I'm describing it correctly, but it's like oxygen that's burnt. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, and you were, for like a whole day, you were like obsessed that you were
Well, the other thing too is a guy came out to fix our air conditioning again because it was broken, because it always is. So he had just left and he had done some stuff to change it. So I was like, is it from
worried
the air
there was a
conditioning?
problem. Yeah.
Is the duct? I'm hyper fixated on the air conditioning right now. So it's like, whatever. All that to say, genuinely feel a lot better. And the symptoms were not that bad.
Yeah. Yep. We felt pretty crappy for a day or two apiece, but we're good to go now. And I think very excited to get back to like our normal activity levels and routines next week.
I am already starting to feel better because the Burr months are on the horizon, as my mother likes to say.
We're getting close.
August is almost done. Blessedly, mercifully, August is almost done. August literally can suck an egg. It is the worst month.
It is the hottest
Sorry to all
month.
you August birthday people out there. It's the hottest month. It's the worst when you're a kid because you go back to school. It's the worst when you're an adult because it's like summer is over, but the fun stuff of fall hasn't started yet. So you're just in like limbo of like...
August is tough.
Let me just melt.
And I think even people who love summer would not say that they love August. Like June and July is summer.
May, June, July.
Yeah.
August is just like meh.
Right.
Dude, every summer it gets worse and worse for me. But I truly think that I have reverse sad.
Yeah. Seasonal affective disorder.
I really think I do. Like people... But the problem is people usually get sad, seasonal affective disorder, not like blue, like, oh, I'm just sad. But the actual thing, because of a lack of vitamin D in the winter months. Yeah. So that doesn't really track for me.
I think for you, it's just such a strong dislike.
Dude, my mood is literally
yeah,
like horrendous in the heat.
Well, I think I can understand it from the perspective that, you know, if you are just uncomfortable all the time, you would be upset. Like any person who's constantly uncomfortable,
dude, that's a great point.
Is going to have like mental health difficulties. Like, I mean, thinking about people with like chronic pain, it kind of puts a damper on your mood all the time because you just are always uncomfortable. It's always bothering you.
And that's the problem is like you put me not liking the heat or me being uncomfortable in the heat up against chronic pain, and obviously it's not as bad.
The same, but I think that's the best thing I can equate it to. Is true. You are really uncomfortable all the time.
It's like I have a low grade toothache where it's like I'm not going to the dentist, so there's nothing to be done about it.
Yeah.
Because like, what am I going to do with the heat?
Yeah.
Block the sun?
Right.
Like we're you know. So I know that I just have to deal with it, but that just compounds it. Maybe that's why August is so bad, because by the time I get to August, I've been dealing with it for so long. And the other unfortunate thing about it is, like, for whatever reason, we have always ended up living on the surface of the sun. We moved from Tampa to Birmingham, which is just as hot as Atlanta, to Tallahassee, Florida, which it gets pretty cooler hot in the winter, but in the summer it's brutal.
Yeah.
And then we're here, which Atlanta is like miserably hot because Atlanta is hot without any recourse.
Right. There's no water. Ocean.
Like you can go swim the Chattahoochee, but like I'm not getting in that. I'm a water snob. Sorry. There's piss in that. You know, and there's no salt to like save it. I'm a water snob in terms of like getting in bodies of water.
And there's no like breeze.
There's no breeze. Yeah. The concrete everywhere just makes everything so much hotter.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is the complaint hour, but like, I think that's really what it is. So I have been dealing with that. And on top of that, have been a little disillusioned with my workplace. So it's just been a rough summer, but I'll tell you what, I woke up today and I was like, what's today?
The 26th.
26th. I was like, man, we're almost there. Usually around like the 28th of August, because that's when we used to start high school back, I would be like, we're there.
We're
it's
almost
done.
I know. Well, and I've been working on some wool sweaters in preparation for the cold months.
My mom texted us yesterday and was like,
4 months till Christmas.
So I think I get it from them, or from my mom specifically.
It's all coming around to the cooler months very soon.
I just like...
Because I think soon we're going to get that first day where you can tell that fall is coming.
Oh,
Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like, exactly it's not cold. Right. It's still hot. But there's just something different. There's like something intangible. It's like,
I think it's a lack of the humidity.
Is that what you think it is?
I think so. Because you might be You're right that it's just as hot, but you don't walk outside and immediately get slapped in the face with a wet blanket.
It's like you walk outside and you're like,
whoa. Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah. And then
it's not here, but it's coming.
And then one night is like 62 and you're like, oh, it's a little
and
chilly
like,
out here.
Ooh,
and then,
this is nice. And then it warms back up again a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, but we've got some hope.
Yeah.
We can hold on to this. And then like 2 weeks later, you get that first like cool breeze when you walk outside. You're like, oh, I might need to get my jacket.
Well, I never need to get my jacket, but for you.
Yeah. We're almost there. I think we're going to get that first day really soon.
I was really, really hoping as I aged and as I got older that I would be able to cope better with it, but it's just not. I'm going in the opposite direction. Each subsequent summer has been worse and worse for me. Like this summer probably has been the worst summer of my life.
Yeah.
What do you think? You think so?
In terms of like being miserable about the weather?
Just my mental health, my mental state has been
I think
rough.
During COVID, it was the worst. As we have previously spoken about.
That's true, but I think that like I didn't even realize it was summer at that point. You know what I mean? Because we never went outside. So I that
kind of is its own thing.
That's the thing is I don't really even count COVID. Like 2020 to me was just like
it was like its own thing.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been a tough summer for you.
So under normal human circumstances, I think that this has been the worst summer for me.
I can see that.
I do think I'm coming out of it now. And I don't want to hyperfixate on like, what am I going to do different next summer? But because I want to enjoy the months that I like. But the problem now is like, I can't even enjoy that because all I'm thinking about is I'm going to be in a bad mental state next summer.
Well, maybe you just save that problem solving for the spring.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Enjoy the winter months, and then when spring comes, it's preparation for summertime and like coming up with strategies kind of time.
I think that's a great idea. Because
I think it's probably worth you putting some like introspection into that topic of how to, manage
deal with it better.
The summer better.
I've thought about it
but you don't need to do that now because anything you decide on now, you're going to forget by May.
If anybody has any strategies or any, maybe I just need to take a little bit more of a break in the summer.
Yeah.
Because I think I did get quite burnt out with training.
I think you did.
My hours at the gym, the physical gym that I work at, have become so reduced that I'm not really making any money from that job. But I still like the people that I'm training.
Yeah.
So it's like worth it for me to go in to see them. But at the same time, every time I go in, I'm like, man, could I be doing something better with my time?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I got to drive there. I'm usually only there for like one session. So I'm there for 30 minutes, drive back. It's like 45 minutes, but it does break up the flow of your day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess, I don't know.
That's kind of in a weird spot right now.
But the problem with that, and I think a lot of people are, the grass is not always greener. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, if I just quit this, I'll be free to work more on my online business and on my content creation. But at the same time,
there's frustrations that come along with that too, and difficulties.
Exactly. It has its own challenges.
Right.
But I do feel like I'm gaining a little bit of momentum on Instagram and on YouTube. And I'm really, what it is I'm feeling a little bit more capable of content production. I do care if people watch this stuff, but I more so care if like I have an idea and I've been able to accurately communicate that idea.
Yeah. For you, it's a lot of it's the craftsmanship.
Right. And I had the first like 6-8 months, I had an idea and it never really reflected in the work.
Yeah.
But now I do feel like I'm getting to the point where, okay, that was, 80% of where I had it in my head. So I'm feeling very energized by that. And I'm not getting any of that from my physical job.
Yeah.
So that's the harder part.
Well, I personally appreciate your expertise as far as content creation because you've been very helpful to me recently.
Yes. Sarah is stepping onto the content creation stage.
Very slightly.
She got one toe on the stage.
I've posted twice.
That's better
in the last 2 months.
I was about to say that's better than you had before.
And I hadn't posted in 6 or 7 years. So it's been fun. And you really, I feel like you did that post completely.
Well, we took a bunch of pictures yesterday. Sarah's worked on a lot of stuff. You're very proficient.
Yeah.
Like you make
I
stuff
crank them out
really fast.
Yeah.
She's knitting and crocheting stuff.
I don't know how much you care, but I'm going to tell you.
This is our podcast. You can tell
So
people.
when you think about like a sweater.
Yeah.
It can be made with several different sizes of yarn.
Okay.
There's yarn that is small enough to make socks, which is very thin, and there's yarn that's that big around.
Okay.
So if you're making a sweater out of sock yarn versus bulky yarn,
I see.
Some of them are going to work up faster than others based on the diameter of the yarn, the diameter of the needle.
So you've been working with a lot of bulky yarn?
I've been working mostly with either... So there's size 1 through 6 yarn, 1 being smallest, 6 being largest. I've either been holding number 4 double to be like a 5 or a 6, or with 5 or with 6. Well, 6 obviously works up the fastest. So, and that's the book.
But yeah, you're still proficient.
Yeah. Since Memorial Day, I've made 5 sweaters.
My thing is like,
for that book. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
My thing is like, who is making sweaters with 1s and 2s?
People.
Why?
Right now, I'm making a sweater that is going to take me a long time, and I'm really looking forward to the experience of making it.
Yeah.
But it's with I forget if it's a 2 or a 3 held with a 0 lace weight yarn. So this is going to take me much longer, and it's also a very complicated pattern with like lots of cables and like laces.
What do you think your proficiency, like if you had to give yourself a rating 1 out of 10, and 10 is like the Michael Jordan of yarn people, and one is like me. Where would you put yourself? Because you haven't been doing it for that long.
Maybe like a 6.5 or...
Yeah, I think so. That's really good for like...
Yeah, I've been doing it for about a year and a half, but had to take
Not really knitting though.
No, I knitted a little bit in January. Had to take 4 months. No, I loved it.
Oh, you hurt
And
your
then I had
hands.
my injury,
and
I didn't do it again until April. And then I started this test knitting project. So I've been knitting for about 6 months.
Knitting isn't what is causing you the arm pain.
No, it's crochet.
So I want, you were very much like, I'm going to stop all of this. But I wonder if you probably could have knit through.
A little bit. Well, and I did a lot of crochet while we were gone, and my arm's kind of bothering me a little bit again. So
Is it?
Yeah, a little bit.
No way.
Yeah. It had been totally fine for about 3 weeks.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know.
Are you still wearing your brace and everything?
Mm-mm.
I think you should wear the brace while you do it.
Well, yeah, maybe I should.
Like I think that's what, you don't wear the people with carpal tunnel don't just wear it when they're not. They wear it when they're typing and they wear it.
I probably should. You're
right.
I
don't know if you have carpal tunnel or not. Who knows?
No, I don't think I have carpal
tunnel.
But
like, I think you should wear it while you're doing it.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm looking forward, or I'm enjoying the project that I'm doing now because it's very complicated, very technical, which I really haven't done before. So I'm excited for the challenge and
good.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing that like, if I could go back and tell my young self, like as a middle schooler or as a high schooler, was like, embrace the challenge of learning something new.
Yeah.
Because so on that same topic, for whatever reason, I think because I'm bored, like a couple of days ago, I was like, I'm going to learn how to write.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm I want to write better. I want to write better scripts for the videos. I want to write blog posts. I don't like writing fiction, but in my exercises, maybe I will. But I want to get better at writing nonfiction work. So for whatever reason, I was like, I'm going to do this. And I think 3 or 4 years ago, I probably would have been like, because I've done 2 exercises. So it's not like I've done a lot, but I got these random prompts and I've sat down and I've said, this is 30 minutes that you are going to write. And I'm forcing myself to do that, even if it's garbage, which it is. I'm like, don't think about the fact that it's garbage. Just do it.
Right.
But 4 or 5 years ago, I would have been like, I'm not instantly good at this. I'm quitting. And I think that's a disservice that this is going to sound like a brag. That's a disservice that gifted children are given. Because you and I both did very well pretty naturally in school.
Yeah.
Not to say, she's smarter than me. Don't fight me.
But I don't know. When you pick up on things really quickly, you often don't get a lot of feedback.
You also don't understand what effort is.
Right.
Because it's so easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you don't really get the chance to have something be not what you wanted and then have to figure out how to make it really great.
Which I think that's the value in learning.
It's like you can just kind of do whatever your initial effort is and it gets you
good.
the A and then you can do the next thing.
But meanwhile,
the next assignment.
But meanwhile, in a harder context, what you did is not going to work, but had that medium level difficulty thing caused you to approach the problem with a different mindset, the hard level difficult thing would be a piece of cake.
Or you would have more of a skill set of how to get there.
It's like learning anything, but chess is very much like this. Like you can win games. You can get to like 1600 ELO, winning games, brute forcing things, never learning anything just by rote memorization, right? The game is very much just memorization to a certain point. But then you get to that point and you will get demolished at all. You will not be able to continue to progress. And I think any skill acquisition is like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was never told this, and I never came to this realization as a kid, teenager, early adult. I think what really changed me was teaching other people something.
Yeah.
So in coaching other people, not to say that I came to weightlifting easy, but I've had a pretty decent time of it, and I've been able to troubleshoot my own problems. But in coaching people that haven't, I've started to realize this is just part of the process.
Yeah.
So for me to be a better coach, I'm just like, we're going to work through this. We're going to come, we're not going to stop. We're going to come at this from a different angle. We're going to do something different. We're going to,
Yeah.
So I think that that's the value.
Well, and I think it's also really important to take the time to design your learning program in a way that's going to be progressive.
But that's a skill in itself.
It is.
That's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Because I've started and stopped learning Spanish 6 times. And I've gotten something out of that. But this time I really was like, okay, we read an article. What was that article? How to Learn a Language or something. I don't know. Like it's because I would love to link it.
Yeah, we'll find
I'll
it
try
and
find
we'll
it,
link it.
Because I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Because it was like 11 steps of like, this is really what counts when you're learning a language. And through my process of learning Spanish, I'll tell you, in 2 to 3 months since I picked it back up,
you have
really minimal effort, just doing the things that the writer laid out, I'm leaps and bounds better than where I was. So I think that's the other thing too, that the skill is knowing how to pick up other skills.
Yeah.
And we don't ever learn that.
No. Well, and like I'll even kind of, I guess, bring it back to the sweater that I've been working on, because I think that's a really nice visual. But the sweater I'm working on right now is small yarn and really intricate cable work. Before I ever would have dreamed of attempting that, what I've been working on over the last few months is a sweater with the big chunky yarn that's easy to see and easy to manipulate with just one kind of cable.
Okay.
And then a different sweater also with like bigger yarn and another type of cable. So like a different technique, but one technique per project with bigger, easier yarn.
Yeah.
And I did a couple of those, and now I'm like, you know what? I think I'm ready to try this like ambitious project with, it's a little bit more fiddly. It's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
It's a lot more intricate, but I think I've done, 3 or 4 easier things to kind of learn on and practice on, and that were at my level at the time.
Yeah.
And now I'm ready to challenge myself with the next step. It's really hard to do, but I think it's very important to try to find that next step that's just outside of your reach.
Well, I was going to say that is the skill.
Yep.
Because
that's what they teach us in like therapy school.
When we're being taught like movement patterns, and you need to know progressions and regressions, but you don't need to go from level 1 to level 6.
Right.
Because all that's going to do is crush any
it's just
confidence.
Level 1 to 1.5, 1.5 to 2, and so on.
I honestly think it's more beneficial to undershoot that next jump than it is, because
at the very least, you get more practice with technique.
And it would be perfect if we knew like life is not a video game. We don't know the next quest that we have to go on specifically, right? And it is unfortunate when you do try and make a jump to something and it's like, oh, well, this was super easy. I thought this was going to be more challenging, because then you don't really get the reward.
Yeah.
But
you could try it again.
And it's less damaging, I find, than jumping way too high, getting absolutely demolished, and then just giving up.
Yeah.
So either you need to be incredibly resilient and make those big jumps, or just make smaller jumps in difficulty.
Yeah. And I think the best way to kind of figure out how to make those difficulty adjustments is to understand the parameters of the task that you're working on. So like I've been talking about my sweaters, for me, the parameters are the size of the yarn, the number of techniques in the project, things like that. For weightlifting, it's more things like the range of motion,
technical proficiency,
the speed of the reps, the number of the reps, the rest time, and the weight. Like those are some of the, as a, outsider, those are some of the parameters that you might pick one to adjust to make that small difficulty increase. Yeah.
I think it's interesting with weightlifting because it's not completely physical. I think where a lot of people start to realize they've made a jump that's too big is kind of getting into a bigger mental pond. Like, so when you first start out with weightlifting, the initial response physically is so massive that you start to get that feeling of like, this comes so easy to me. This is always going to be how it is. So, and I think a lot of people stop at the 2 to 3 year mark because that's usually when physiologically the adaptation starts to blunt and slow and go like not even close to where you were when you first started. So it's not so much like, let's manipulate a rep here or a rep there. It's more so now we have to turn this into a mental exercise. I really think mentality is what separates intermediate to advanced. It's not a weight on the bar. It's not anything. It's not even time in the gym. Because you've got 10-year veterans that are still running their head against the wall, trying to train the same way that they trained when they were beginners.
And it's just not.
And it's like a 1600 in chess who is still trying to just go by rote memorization. It's not going to get you any farther, right? But the problem with the gym is you've seen it work in yourself. And so you think, if I can just get back to that level, I'll break through this plateau. And you start to play little games with yourself where you're like, oh, well, maybe it's because I'm not really as focused as I was when I first started. Or maybe it's because I'm not sleeping as well as I was when I first started. Some of those things could be the case.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But most of the time, it is that as you progress in skill, you have to change the things that you don't know you need to change, which is where I think coaching is so valuable.
Yeah.
Because even as someone who is a coach, and whenever I talk about the value of coaching, it always feels like super sleazy because it's like, oh, I'm trying to sell people on stuff. Sure.
But it's true. There are a lot of values and,
I am trying to sell you on stuff because I know the value of it.
Right, exactly.
Right? So,
and a lot of people don't understand the value.
But you don't know what you don't know until somebody else tells you, right? So even I have been working out a different way. I've been training a different way for the past, 4 months. I've done that because I wanted to do more program reviews on my YouTube channel, but I am missing that collaborative coaching experience because I can look at my own footage. I can think about what's going wrong, what's going right till the cows come home, but I will always be missing that experienced eye, that objective eye. And so I have made the sacrifice to kind of blunt some of my own growth in order to increase the growth on my YouTube channel with the content that I'm putting out. I've made that sacrifice. If I was approaching nationals or worlds, I would never, ever, ever be training the way that I'm training right now. Because I'm just putting myself behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
Right? So there's my little plug for coaching. Even if you're not a competitor, you can accelerate the learning process so much because I know what you don't know. And I know how to increase difficulty better than you would. So you don't have to stab in the dark anymore.
Right.
Right.
And it also makes, I would think, working out a little bit more fun because maybe you want to do that for yourself and like have it be a mental exercise, and that's great.
Yeah.
But maybe you just want to be able to go to the gym and turn your brain off and have a program that you know is going to be good quality. And that's a huge benefit is you don't have to spend your time thinking about it in that level of detail. You can still obviously be an intelligent athlete in collaboration with your coach.
But you only have to bring 10% mental effort to that because the coach will... You do want your brain there,
right?
But not as much as like if you're doing all your programming by yourself.
Is really hard work.
It is and it isn't.
Yeah.
It is if you are really getting in the weeds, which is why coaches are so valuable, because they're out of the weeds.
Right.
We can see the forest for the trees. We can, so I would say when I'm programming for other people, it's very easy. It's very simple. As long as they're providing me the inputs that I need.
Right.
It has always become difficult, and I've always felt burnt out with it when I've been doing it for myself. So even now, I'm not doing it for myself. I'm just doing these cut and dry programs to review them.
Sure.
But man, because you always will second guess, because you only have a finite amount of energy and you have a finite amount of time. So God forbid you waste your time 6 months out of a year doing a program that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I will put your mind at ease. Most stuff, if done with a level of effort, will work.
To a degree.
It's more so, how do we optimize it? For your body type, for your goals, all that type of stuff.
Right.
So if you can't afford a coach and you're like, oh, well, why do I even work out? Don't take that approach.
No.
Because if you come in with good effort, dude, I mean, I've seen some people that they work out hard. They're not doing any of the right stuff, but man, do they do it hard. And they're built. They're strong.
Yeah.
They've,
the
body will adapt, even if it's
Sure.
not,
Yeah. It doesn't have to be optimal.
So don't think that just because you can't afford a coach, times are tough, man. I get it. The economics of the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I do think that a coach really accelerates the process.
I agree.
So there you go.
Yeah.
All that to say, I would like to really be intentional. We're talking about having kids. I would like to really be intentional about how we teach or how we kind of explain the approach to learning to our kids.
Yeah.
Because this is not my parents' fault or it's not my teacher's fault, but like I was kind of just swept along because I was doing so well. There was never a moment where I was like, hey, you may need to change this and change that and whatever. I got A's all through high school without doing anything. And then guess what? I got to college, same thing. I could talk my way out of any issue.
Yeah.
I have a skill in communication. I could talk myself out of any problem in school. Yeah. So I never had, which I guess I learned how to do that.
You did.
But again, that came very natural to me.
Yeah.
So I never, you hear all these stories about people that really had to fight for stuff and that's what makes people great. And I do believe that. But I think you can simulate that if you just change your approach. So I don't know. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to teach people how to be inquisitive, how to ask questions, and also find the answers to those questions on their own. I think those are really important learning tools. You should be able to teach yourself things.
Yeah.
And
what's so great is, and I rail against the internet all the time, but the internet has given us the ability to learn anything.
Yeah.
If you know how.
If you know how to do the legwork. You got to know how to do the legwork.
I'm telling you, I have learned so much stuff from YouTube videos, from blog posts, from just being around it. You have graduate level courses on YouTube in every subject imaginable. You know what I mean? So but again, we're not given the tools of learning how to learn.
Right.
I think this is I don't know how you fix this in school, but it's like you're just not taught how to learn. You're taught how to memorize and then you're swept along to the next thing.
It's like, all right, you memorized it.
On with
up. You. Yeah.
It's like, that works for math and science.
Not even completely.
Not all the way, but better than like soft skills and social skills. You can't memorize how to have a conversation with somebody.
Right. That's very true.
Hello, how are you? How is your coat? Good, thank you. Okay, that's the end of my memorization.
Right.
It's the same way with learning a language.
Yeah. And we had a really great conversation about that the other day. On our way to the airport, we were talking about the philosophy of language instruction.
Yeah.
Of how it's very high stakes in the classroom.
Oh, yes. Oh, now I remember. Yeah. That is so true.
Yeah.
It is life and death almost, because it is your grade, right? So not life and death. I'm being a little hyperbolic. But when you're in college...
In the context of the classroom, it is life and death.
When you're in high school, when you're in college, and especially when you're in high school, and you don't want to be learning the language anyway, most of the time. You've been forced into a language requirement, right? But that B or C, you've been told, is going to cause you to not be able to go to the college that you want to. Oh my God. When you're in high school, that's the end of the world.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's your future.
It's a big deal.
You're not going to be able to then get the job that you want. You're not going to be able to make the money that you want from this one class. So you're going to do anything you can to just get through that class, right? That does not include learning the language, because to learn the language, you have to be able to make mistakes.
Right. There needs to be enough safety that you can, because when you think about a child learning a language,
they're screwing up left and right.
Yeah.
But that's how it's supposed to be.
Well, because that's the natural process.
Right.
And so I think when you're learning a language as an adult, you need that same wiggle room and that same space
100%
to be able to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Be corrected in a low stakes sort of way, and then learn that information and apply it the next time.
I'm telling you.
And eventually you're not talking like a little, baby
5-year-old
anymore.
Yeah, right.
You're talking like an adult.
I've honestly been thinking about it. Like in the car, we talked about like all language courses, not all, beginner language courses should be pass fail to like the 200 level, because it should be, the teacher should be able to, because when a student is giving the effort that's necessary, like do your job, teachers, and just focus on the student and understand whether or not they're bringing effort. Right. So you can say, you haven't really brought effort, it's a fail. Yeah. But if they're coming into class, if they're talking to you,
doing the homework
exercises, if they're doing the listening exercises, the stuff that's actually going to teach you the language, pass them. Give them a good grade.
Yeah.
And then if they want to continue learning the language at a 300 or 400 level, then we bring in...
Like, okay, we need to grade you now.
Exactly.
I actually took a language class pass-fail once.
I think I did too.
Yeah, and it was a great experience.
Oh, I definitely did. And it was awesome. The pressure was off.
I had a great time. Well, that was the thing. It was like I was going to be taking too many credit hours. It was like a Hermione and the Time Turner situation, except for that's not real.
Except you can't time turn.
Right. And so I was like, well, I can't take this class for a grade because I will regret it and I'll get stressed about it and I won't have fun. And so I took it pass fail, and it was great because if I didn't have time to do a homework assignment because I had too much stuff in my major to do.
No worries.
It wasn't a big deal.
Right.
I texted the teacher and I was like, Привет.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to miss class today because I have an observation for one of my major classes. I was like, yes, problema.
Yeah.
Not a problem. And it was really great. And I learned so much, and it was a great experience. And I know that, in that context, if I had been taking it for...
It would have been way worse.
I probably wouldn't have gotten an A. I probably would have dropped it because I wouldn't have had to... There were plenty of homeworks that I just did not do.
Yeah.
But it was no big deal.
The other thing, too, is like, because it is graded, the only way that you can really grade a language is on the understanding of grammar. Mm-hmm. You can kind of grade vocab, but not... I mean, you could.
Yeah, but you absolutely can.
The meat and potatoes of a Spanish test, I'm thinking, was grammar. In my new approach to learning Spanish, you cannot learn grammar just by memorizing it.
Not completely.
I don't feel like any of the grammar set in when I was just trying to memorize endings in Spanish. When it has set in, when I've been watching or listening and trying to think through, okay, does that mean present tense, past tense? She's talking about the other guy. Is she talking about herself?
Yeah, it's like, okay, wait. Like she said this sentence, and I don't understand it, but I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And you kind of
I know
reverse
the context.
engineer. Yeah.
So it doesn't really make sense if she's saying, I'm eating on Thursday because...
Today's Friday.
Right.
That was yesterday.
Right.
That must be the past tense.
Exactly. But I think we have it in reverse, because the first thing you learn in Spanish class is, vamos ice on. That's the first thing you learn. And it's like, what the hell is this? What does this mean? Like, I don't know. You don't know enough verbs to understand how they connect. You don't know anything like that. So,
well, and I think that's something that it talked about in that article that you were referencing a few minutes ago, is that in general, when you're learning a language, whether it's in school or self-study, there is just a tendency to focus so heavily on grammar at the expense of not learning any vocabulary. You have to have a pretty equal proficiency in both.
I honestly think...
I mean, you can have every grammar rule in a language memorized.
Good luck.
What are you going to do with it if you know 10 words?
Exactly.
Like, you're not going to get very far.
I think, like, if I was designing a language class, and I'm not a teacher, okay? But I coach people. It's very similar. Mm-hmm. I'm not a language teacher, I should say. But if I was designing a language program, the first half of the first semester would be as much immersion as I could get. Mm-hmm. It would be, let's watch TV. Mm-hmm. Let's listen to the radio. Let's try and talk to each other, you know? Because for me, when I started doing that, now I can go back to the textbooks of grammar that I have and just, it's like, oh yeah, sense.
I know enough sentences that.
It's like I've built the border of the puzzle and now I can start plugging in the middle of the puzzle. You know what I mean? That's 100%. But we're trying to do the middle of the puzzle with the border just like in space. Mm-hmm. When I don't know. I don't know why I'm so passionate about this, but I'm passionate about it because I've
finally had that breakthrough.
Dude, I've wanted to learn Spanish for so long because I want to be able to talk to you. I want to be able to talk to my clients. I want to be able to talk to our children in Spanish. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm finally seeing through the freaking matrix where I took 6 years of structured Spanish class and I got nowhere.
Yeah.
I got absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
And in 3 months, I've blown all of that out of the water.
Yeah. Well, I know people talk a lot about immersion and like if you want to learn a language, move to the country.
Right.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Because like when I did my study abroad, there was someone who came on the trip with us who had never, ever taken a Spanish class. She could say hello, goodbye, where's the bathroom?
Wow.
And that was it.
That's bold.
Lived with a Spanish family, went to a Spanish language school, and had to like...
Yeah, figure it out.
Ride the metro, get on the bus, like ask for directions. I have never seen somebody learn so much from a Spanish 101 class.
Right.
She was taking Spanish 101.
Right.
But
she was also taking Spanish 501 outside of the classroom.
Because she had to eat dinner with a Spanish family every day. And she had a roommate who was also from the university, so like they could speak English to each other and like her roommate could like
help her out
a little bit. But they were not allowed to speak English at the dinner table.
Good.
And exactly. And they ate dinner every night. It was like I think it was mom and dad, like a middle schooler and maybe second grader.
Yeah, so you get a lot of different levels of Spanish.
Yeah, so it was just people talking about their day. There was one point, it was me, her, and her roommate, and my roommate. We got totally lost.
Yeah.
And so we were all...
Had to figure it out.
I was asking people for directions, but she was next to me, and we were like, you know, getting to know these random, like, people our age. And it was a blast, and she came home after... 6 weeks.
Way better than any other 101.
Speaking good Spanish. Speaking very decent Spanish.
We're going to like
it's true.
Like I just said with the internet too, because people are like, oh, well, I can't afford to go live it. Sure.
You don't have to.
You do not have to, dude. Do you understand how much Spanish that I take in just in our house? Mm-hmm. Everything's got Spanish, either spoken with English subtitles, Spanish with or English with Spanish subtitles so I can read it. I'm listening to it all the time. We talk.
So that's what I think when you're learning Spanish, maybe also French, you could say this, there's a massive benefit of just the amount of resources that we have here. Every DVD in your collection is dubbed in Spanish with Spanish subtitles. You really want to learn? Dub it in Spanish and put Spanish subtitles on it.
If you live in the southern United States,
you have any restaurant.
You have no excuse to say, "Oh, I can't be immersed in Spanish."
Can.
Yes, you can, dude. We live in a freaking Spanish neighborhood.
Yeah, go meet some neighbors.
Yeah, like talk to people.
Turn on the radio. Turn on the Telemundo.
Because here's the dirty little secret:
it is not hard.
Spanish speakers, especially in America, are looking for an excuse to continue to speak Spanish, and they're so nice.
Yeah.
When you try and speak, they are I'm sure there's a bad apple here or there, but the majority of people that I try and talk to, their face lights up. Even if it's terrible what I'm saying, they're like, oh my God, your Spanish is incredible. It's like, no, it's not, but thank you.
Well, and I think that is true for a lot of people who encounter somebody learning their native language. When I talk to somebody who is learning English, that like totally makes my day.
I think the majority of English speakers do not do that.
And I think that's fair to say.
Especially here, especially in the UK. It's like, dude, speak English.
But
I think we're getting better about that.
I hope so.
Here's the thing. If you yourself, as a native English speaker, have tried to learn another language,
you're never going to be mean to somebody else.
You will never be mean to someone who is speaking in broken English.
I believe that.
Yeah. Because you don't realize how hard it is until you try and do it yourself.
Yeah.
And Spanish is not an incredibly difficult language, but the feeling of inadequacy that you have when you know what you want to say, but you cannot form the words is unlike anything else.
Yeah, it's very humbling.
Right. So then in every interaction with a second language speaker of English, I'm like, dude, I got you.
Like, we are going to figure this out.
Whatever you need to say, you can say it. Take as long as you want. We'll get it sorted.
We're going to get it.
Because I know how bad it can be, right?
But yeah, I find it to be very fun and not very scary to go to a Spanish restaurant and order in Spanish. People are very nice.
I think so.
It's usually very obvious that I'm not a native speaker.
Right.
Look at me.
You might pass for Argentinian.
No.
Listen, still too white?
When I was in Spain, people walked up to me and said, "Are you American?"
Oh, there you go.
Just from looking at me.
You got pulled.
I from across the Central Park in Madrid, somebody would spot me, and actually an English guy came up to me and he's like, "Are you American?" And I was like, "I am." It's like, "Can I I'm a psychologist. I'm doing a survey. Can I ask you?"
You turned it into an Australian now.
Yeah, sorry. I've been listening to a lot of Australian stuff lately. But yeah, and he spotted me from across a crowded park and was like, "That's somebody who speaks English."
Yeah, I mean,
But, people I find a lot of times are very happy to practice your Spanish with
they're
you.
incredibly forgiving.
Yeah. Whereas if you're trying to learn German, you're going to have to work a little bit harder to find German. It absolutely can be done.
Dude,
it's just going to take a little bit more effort than somebody who wants to learn Spanish.
The internet.
Absolutely.
You can learn anything.
Oh.
People are learning freaking Swahili.
I'm trying to learn Russian, and I have found lots of resources.
And there's not a single native Russian speaker here.
Not that I have found yet.
But
I'm sure there are. Atlanta's a big city.
Right.
I have not found them.
I don't know.
But that's okay. I don't need to find them. And when I do, I'll be very happy. But until then, you make it work and you can be immersed. I'm not going to Russia anytime soon to be immersed in Russian.
I don't think we're ever going to Russia.
I'm going to do it from here.
I just think that talking about learning skills, there's nothing as rewarding, in my opinion, to learn as an adult like another language.
Yeah, I agree.
I really think that the doors that it opens up, not just interpersonally, but learning how to learn, learning a second or a third language is massive.
Yeah.
For what it gives you.
Yeah.
Because I've taken a lot of the skills and I have applied them now to learning how to write. And when I, pick my next hobby, I'm going to apply those same skills to that. But I really think it sets the foundation for learning well. But we're not, not taught that in school.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, language learning is not something that we do very well in the States. I think it's something that's done very well in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
We don't do it very well
It's
here.
done very well in other parts of the world because there are so many other languages
They're
around.
exposed to it more. Yeah.
In India, I mean, for goodness sakes.
People speak 5-6 languages.
Because you have to.
Yeah.
Because of how dense language is there.
They get that immersion that we just don't get.
You know what I mean? In China's the same thing.
Europe's the same as well.
Yeah, well, Europe is the same. So,
Yeah.
I think we're getting there now with the addition of so many Spanish speakers in the U.S.
Yeah.
But I do think it's going to take a couple, because our generation, I think, is a little bit more open to a mix of languages, let's say. I do not think our parents' generation was open to.
Yeah, no, probably not.
Oh, we're going to learn Spanish now? What the hell are you talking about? We speak English here, partner.
I love going to Chipotle.
Exactly. So I don't know.
Chipotle.
I'm not.
Bueno.
I'm not trying to downplay anybody. If you want to just speak English, that's fine. The country,
that's your loss.
It
honestly.
is an English speaking country, sure, but it is I do think it's your loss.
I think it's your loss. Yeah. Well, anybody who knows me knows I'm a big nerd for language learning. I've been a big nerd since probably 13 years old for learning languages. So
you're just a big nerd in general.
Ask me anything.
But languages is definitely
definitely one of my hyperfixations.
That's your prime autism. Language.
I'm all about it. I mean, that's our shelf right there.
Yeah, we got the language learning shelf.
I need to get on that Welsh, actually. I need to get on
Welsh?
Yeah.
Oh, my word. No, I don't know about that.
It's up there.
I wanted to talk about, we haven't done a movie recommendation or a book recommendation. In a
Oh
while.
no, we haven't.
Because I haven't been watching many movies, but I
No.
got one.
Yeah.
The diving one.
Oh, dude, that was so good.
Dude, I think it's called The Deepest Breath.
The Deepest Breath.
It is on Netflix.
Very good.
And
it's about free diving.
It's about free diving, which if you don't know, free diving is an extreme sport in which you hold your breath.
In which you must take the deepest breath.
And you go down. It's measured by the distance meters below the sea.
People are diving like 100 meters.
Yeah.
100 meters.
100 plus now. Because this movie it was based around an event that happened in 2017. Mm-hmm. But I will say what's so cool about it is a lot of documentaries are like made by their subject matter. Like the subject matter is interesting enough that the filmmaking around it doesn't have to be interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're doing a documentary on Michael Jordan, it's like,
dude, basketball.
Who cares what the director has to say about any of this?
Right.
Let's just hear from the people.
Right.
Which that's what a documentary is, right?
Right.
But what's
like
I don't want to spoil it, but it's around a tragic event.
Yeah. Well, the trailer tells you that,
right.
basically.
But I don't want to spoil it. But so there's a way in which they film it, which makes you feel a specific way.
Yeah.
And then the way that it is expressed to you changes the way that you think about it.
It's not what you are maybe expecting.
It is very unexpected.
It's really interesting because like with a Michael Jordan doc, like the one that we watched about the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah,
it's like it's like all these famous people, interesting basketball, very high paced and exciting to watch. It's a season of basketball that pretty much everybody knows about.
Right. Very known.
Very nostalgic.
Yes, for sure.
And this is like a sport that nobody's heard
of.
A
niche sport.
And honestly,
boring.
Watching it is like, wow, that's wild. But you can really only watch somebody go down into a totally pitch black ocean twice before it's like, okay, yeah, I know what this looks like now.
Right.
Doesn't take away from the like amazing feat of human skill, but it's not exciting to watch. It's like after you've seen it once or twice.
It's like how I talk about powerlifting. It's like I can appreciate how strong these people are, but this is
hard.
Boring.
I've seen 25 squats today, so
I'm done.
I'm a little bored of that.
But
this was they managed to keep our attention through like a whole 2 hours. It was a
really
great
gripping.
Story.
Like it's really, really gripping.
I know, it's like
really
you're
well
watching
made.
it and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, you're freaking out. Because everybody knows, I think what's so cool about it is like, everybody knows that feeling of you've been underwater for a little bit too long and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to drown. Mm-hmm. Like everybody, I think if you've ever been in water, you know that feeling. Because the ocean is so unpredictable.
Yeah.
You're going to get in a situation like that. So to see people willingly do that, you're like, dude, these people, they've got a screw loose.
Honestly, balls of steel.
I know. But it's called The Deepest Breath. I think it's fantastic. One of the better documentaries I've seen in a long time. I would really recommend it.
I mean, honestly, there's times that like they will black out on their way up.
On their way back up.
And so like they're safety divers and it's
CPR as they're in the water.
And then they're like, what do you mean I can't dive tomorrow?
Yeah.
Are you joking me? And they like storm off. I'm like, I don't think there's anything that I like want to participate in so much that I would want to do it the day after it made me need CPR.
Right. Some of them get like collapsed lungs and they're like, oh my God, what do you mean I can't do this?
You're not going to let me compete tomorrow?
It's like, no, dude.
I've never been so angry in all my life.
One of your lungs was the size of a fist.
Like, this isn't.
That's not supposed to happen.
You can't do that tomorrow.
And they're just like, that's stupid.
It's like, you can't do it tomorrow and you can't do it next week either. It's like,
crazy.
This is ridiculous.
I highly recommend it. I think it is sad, but it is very, very good.
Yeah.
You have a book or no?
I was just thinking about it.
Kind of put you on the spot.
Well, no, that's okay. I was actually looking at the bookshelf yesterday because I know that you are wanting to read outside of your genre.
Trying to get better at writing, so I'm gonna have to read some classics, I think.
I'm trying to remember what books I've talked about on here before. Have I talked about? Did I talk about this one? I don't know if I did. Blindness?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you have, it's been a year. Nobody watches this, so you can talk about it again if you want to. We're an hour in.
Remember.
If anybody is still watching right now, just hit a comment up because there's no way anybody's watching this.
Yeah,
right
this is a great one. I actually think you would really like
Blindness?
this. Blindness by Jose Saramago. It won the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Oh, well, that means nothing to me.
I know it doesn't. But basically...
They gave Obama a Nobel Prize and he bombed freaking 10,000 meters of, you know.
Yeah,
like
fair enough. Anyhow, this is about a rampant, I guess kind of like I guess you could say a sickness, but that causes blindness. The only thing that it causes is blindness.
Oh, nice.
It's wicked contagious. Everybody's getting it. So they try and quarantine people. So like people are quarantined in this compound who are all blind.
Oh, nice.
And it's like guarded with guns, like people with guns. So you can't get out.
Can't go in.
And there's a guy who becomes blind. His wife pretends to be blind so that she can go with him into the compound and like help. And it's basically all about the de-evolution of humanity
nice.
Within this compound of people who are dealing with this. So it's very dark. There's some really moments. Yeah, it's a city's hit by an epidemic of white blindness, which spares no one. So it's like you only see white instead of only seeing darkness.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it is. It is really good. Very well done. Very dark.
I will probably put that on my list.
It.
I like stories like that. Like I really liked. You know, a lot of people don't like Night by Eli Wiesel or whatever the hell. I think that's really good.
It is.
I like
that's a hard book to read.
Man's Search for Meaning. It's another one of those where concentration camp. How do we survive? How do because that any book like this that's
fictional, is like a fictional book of this. It's like
it's all from that
it's
idea.
Absolutely,
either
like,
the gulags or the concentration camps or prison camps in general.
Right, and this is fictional, but it's like people imprisoned all together. Everything falls apart, and how do you come back from it afterwards?
We have real life evidence.
Yes,
we've had since the dawn of time, people have been putting other people in bad situations, right? So we have evidence of what happens to humanity, but I do think it's interesting when it's written in a fictional way to see like you can really tell if the author has a more positive outlook on humanity or a more negative outlook on humanity, mostly because how it turns out.
Right.
You know?
Right. And it's almost like a longer, slightly darker version of like Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
Just where it's like they're trapped.
Exactly.
There are no rules.
Yep.
But you can't leave. And
Lord of the Flies
everything
is wild.
falls apart. That's a fantastic book.
Yeah, but it's crazy that they give that to 12-year-old boys to read in high school. Like that's a book that like, why are you giving people an instruction manual? Like 12-year-old boys could legitimately do that.
It's like they're going to figure out how to do it whether you give them the book or not.
Yeah,
so let's not encourage it.
I guess you're right. All right, folks.
Anyway.
We're back. As my mood is way up.
Yeah.
Let's hope it remains for the rest of the year. I don't know.
We'll see. Anytime you feel sad, just look at me working on a wool sweater and remember winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
If you guys have any topics, any questions, it can be fitness related, it can be life related, relationship related, whatever. We'd love to hear from you. If you can't tell, we're kind of running out of topics because the Reddit questions haven't been that good.
Yeah.
So I really want, to be able to help you guys specifically. So if you have anything, you can leave the comments here. You can join our Discord, put the comments or the questions in there. Follow us both on Instagram. Sarah's a knitwear influencer now. So
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
2 posts.
I put things I like on my Instagram that I make.
I think you're an influencer now. And I'm still doing the fitness stuff, just trying to get people stronger. So thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you next week. Have a good rest of your week.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.